breaking news tonight. One person is dead. About 80 people are being treated after heavy smoke filled the L'Enfant Plaza metro. And these are photos from the Twitter account Unsung Metro. You can see commuters hunched over, covering their mouths, surrounded by hazy smoke. And thanks for joining us. I'm Gian Jeffcoat.
And I'm Derek McGinty. L'Enfant Metro stop still shut down tonight, and a whole slew of firefighters and police there on the scene just trying to figure out exactly what happened. But here's what we know so far. At about 3:30 this afternoon, the smoke started filling the tracks along the green and yellow lines at the L'Enfant Plaza station. And while that station was being evacuated, a lot of folks were stuck on stranded trains. Some of them tell us they were struggling to breathe, covering their mouths as smoke filled the cars. Eventually, all were rescued.
Now back on the streets, fire trucks and ambulances raced to the scene to help with potential patients. A short time ago, Metro confirmed one person did die in today's incident. 2 others are in critical condition. 60 more are being treated for their injuries. Now witnesses told our Mola Lengi what it was like on those stranded trains.
The conductor kept telling everybody to calm down, you know, that they were going to move us to the next platform. Every 2 to 3 minutes he would say that. People were just getting out of hand. They were panicking. Next thing you know, you couldn't see from one end to the other on the train.
Smoke.
Right.
Yeah, smoke, yeah. A lot of people to the floor, you know, because very strong.
On the floor?
Yeah. Coming out, you know.
So how were you able to eventually get off the
Fire
train?
guys finally got there, and I guess they pried the door open, and one by one they started letting us out.
And then you just walked through the tunnel onto the next
Walked
platform?
through the tunnel. They escorted us. They had fire people along the way, and we walked, you know, just slow until we got to the platform.
And so there's still...
Well, we are expecting an update from top Metro officials shortly, where we do expect new information about what happened, and we're going to bring you that new information as soon as we get it.
In the meantime, though, our investigative reporter Russ Potasic has been on top of this story ever since it broke. In fact, he was tweeting up-to-the-minute details all evening long.
Yeah, he joins us now live from Farragut West with more. So, Russ, what have you found out?
Hi, we're at the 17th and I entrance to Farragut West, and things started stacking up here and Metro Center and stations between as a domino effect of passenger backups created just a real swell that couldn't be managed. Now, take a look at some video that we shot as one of our trains actually went through L'Enfant Plaza, and this was about an hour after the incident there, and you can see that it is completely abandoned. That at that point, not even any emergency personnel inside the station. The trains continue to operate through there on the blue line, the orange line, and the silver line, but the green and yellow stopped operating there, and that created a real problem with passengers looking for other ways to get home, which created very jam-packed Metro cars, specifically on the blue line. In fact, at some lines, when trains came to a stop, there was no way for passengers to get on the train. I was actually on one as a train came to a stop, and you would actually see the people just look bug-eyed because there was nowhere for them to go. Here at Farragut West, this is where the problem was apparently, from what I was watching on Twitter, this was ground central for the biggest backup. And Metro employees actually kept some passengers on the mezzanine, prevented them from taking the escalator down to the platform because the platform was so overpacked. Now here, over the past 30 minutes or so, things have calmed down. It appears that passengers are now being allowed down onto the platform. And for now, it appears that at this location, Metro service is back up to near normal, but around L'Enfant Plaza and those stations nearby, the problems persist. Live at Farragut West, I'm investigative reporter Russ Potasic.
All right, Russ, thank you. And of course, as we've been telling you all night, one person dead now, 2 in critical condition, and as many as 60 people still being treated. We are getting reports tonight. Some of the patients overcome by the smoke are being treated at GW Hospital.
That is where we find our Bruce LeShan, who is live now with more. So, Bruce, what have you been able to find out about the folks?
Well, the one thing that I've really been able to find out is I was able to talk briefly to one of the patients here, a guy named Curtis Mosey, who was on the train. He says he was overcome by smoke. He was transported here by ambulance. He is in the ER right now. He was going to come out and talk to us. He was well enough to do that, but the doctor has asked him to stay inside. They're doing an EKG on him right now, he says, by phone. You can see the medic units stacked up behind me. When we arrived here, there was a mass casualty bus that was on the other side but we got here too late to see any of the patients getting off that bus. But you can imagine with scores of patients, they went to multiple hospitals. We understand over at MedStar that they are treating 21 patients over at MedStar, but we don't have any details on the conditions of any of those patients, how they're doing. Curtis is okay. We don't know if there are more patients here at JW. This is likely the closest hospital, so they would likely have gotten more patients here, but we don't have those details. Can't get any information yet out of this hospital out at GW. As soon as we get more, we'll let you know. Curtis Mosey, thankfully able to talk on the phone, but many other patients clearly in much more serious condition. Let's take it back to you guys.
Bruce, any idea how long some of those passengers were stranded in the tunnel?
Well, we know that some people said it was 15 minutes. Other people said that they were in the tunnel for as long as an hour. People described a scene of terror on board that train. Some people calm, other people completely panicking. As you say, one woman apparently now reported dead. There were reports from some of the passengers on the train that they were doing CPR on an individual on the train. We don't know if she was overcome by smoke or simply panicked. But again, what we're hearing, what the reports are that we're hearing, is some people were okay. Apparently, the train operator came over the PA system, told people to remain calm, to stay on board that train, but some people were so terrified that they were trying to open the doors, which possibly would have let in more smoke. As we understand it, they were trying to pull in to the L'Enfant Plaza station. There was a great deal of smoke. The train stopped. The conductor told people at some point that they were going to try and back out of the tunnel and go back instead of going forward because of how much smoke there was. But apparently that didn't work out, and the train just sat in the tunnel for some period of time. And you can imagine how terrified some people would have been. They just wanted to get the heck out of there.
Bruce LaShan live from GW Hospital. Thank you, Bruce. An undetermined number of Metro passengers transported to GW and perhaps other hospitals with injuries. Again, we're not sure how serious they are, except to tell you we do have confirmed that one person has died from the apparent smoke and everything else that went in the trains from the Metro tunnel at L'Enfant Plaza.
And we're still waiting for top Metro officials to speak about this. There is a press conference underway right now, so we'll bring you the latest on this as soon as we get it. In the meantime, another story we're following for you tonight. Showers are still moving through the area. And of course, not the only concern for tonight.
Chief Meteorologist Top Rashad tracking the rain and the cold, which means ice. Right, Top?
Yeah, afraid so. I mean, the good news is these rain and showers will get out of here before the cold air moves in. Still kind of a miserable commute home. If you're not home yet, you still have showers in Frederick and Leesburg and a lot of showers east of 95 into southern Maryland. We'll zoom in a little bit. Heavier activity now north of the spur up into Montgomery County. Get a little bit of a break right around the immediate part of the Beltway, but that will not last long as the showers push off to the east. Temperatures, though, still above freezing. 37 Gaithersburg and Frederick and Leesburg and Manassas, down to 35 up into Hagerstown. So black ice, we're concerned about that. What is it? Well, the road appears wet, but it's actually frozen. That's black ice. You got to slow down and also be careful walking. We'll come back, talk about how cold it's going to get tonight, and look ahead also to the possibility of a few flakes on Wednesday.
People are gathering in the rain tonight to remember the life of Ethan Saylor. The 26-year-old man with Down syndrome died 2 years ago today at the hands of police.
Deborah Alfarone live in Baker Park in Frederick with more on his family's continued fight for justice. Deborah, it's been a while.
It actually has been. It was 2 years ago tonight that Ethan died, and the rain is certainly not making anyone stop coming out here to Baker Park. You can see this vigil behind me, but I do want to tell you that since Patty started her fight for justice, she has made some groundbreaking strides. However, she still has no answers.
It's a hole. It's a big hole in our lives.
Patty Saylor has invited us along her fight for justice since shortly after her son Ethan died at the hands of 3 off-duty Frederick Sheriff's deputies 2 years ago at this Frederick movie theater for not having a $12 ticket. She shared her pain, her grief, her struggle as those deputies were cleared of wrongdoing and a grand jury declined to indict.
I replay what I think are those 5 minutes, 10 minutes at which he died, in my mind, no less than 5 times a day.
Justice for Ethan may not get national attention, but the fight has trudged on. More than 300,000 people signed Ethan's sister Emma's petition to ask Maryland's governor for a special commission. They got it. Tim Shriver is its driving force.
We were able to institute mandatory training for all cadets in any of the multiple police academies around the state.
And the next step is to make sure that all police officers, not just recruits, but everyone that's currently on forces right now, that they get trained as well. And the sailors have filed a civil lawsuit. They say that's the only way they can get answers as to what happened that night 2 years ago. We're live in Frederick. Deborah Alfarone, WUSA 9.
All right, and Deborah and our web team have put together a special story about Ethan Saylor for our WUSA 9 app and the website. It's got background on the case, an interview with the police, and Ethan's mother's fight for others with disabilities, so her son's death will not have been in vain.
Putting up a fight, the reason some Virginia residents are meeting with Dominion right now.
And even the Pentagon can fall victim to hackers. A look at who claims to be behind today's cyber attack. The White House now investigating a cyber attack on some of the Pentagon's social media websites, and it may stem from a computer in Maryland. The hacker group calling itself Cyber Caliphate and sympathizes with the terrorist group ISIS is who claims responsibility. In fact, they took over the U.S. Central Command's Twitter feed and YouTube accounts today, changing the pictures and posting their own messages. The first tweet was a threat reading, "American soldiers, we are coming, watch your back, ISIS." Well, this is the same group that hacked a handful of news organizations, including Salzburg CBS affiliate WBOC. Fellow hacker group Anonymous says it's traced the hack and it originated somewhere in Maryland. Well, the hackers were attacking the Central Command Twitter page just as President Obama wrapped up a speech about cybersecurity.
Yeah, and today he unveiled a trio of proposals aimed at protecting and notifying you when thieves strike large corporations and retail outlets. Under the president's proposals, companies would have to let customers know within 30 days if hackers got a hold of their information. The president is also expected to expand on this plan and 2 others during his State of the Union address next week. All right, hey, Top.
Right now we have a break in the rain, but you know what? You see how it looks wet? Well, pretty soon this could be frozen. In fact, we'll show you the low temperatures tonight. Everybody goes below freezing, 30 downtown, but in the 20s in the suburbs. We'll talk more about black ice and talk about why we're chasing and tracking some flakes on Wednesday.
An evening rush hour catastrophe for Metro. Smoke filling tunnels and 1 man dead and dozens of others perhaps transported to local hospitals as Metro's still trying to figure out what went wrong near L'Enfant Plaza Metro station.
Mullenlege's been following the developments all night. He joins us live right now from L'Enfant Plaza with the very latest. Mola, what have you learned?
Guys, first things first, 1 woman was killed tonight. 2 more remain in critical condition. About 60 were taken to the hospital for smoke inhalation, many of them still being treated. While Metro and fire officials have not yet determined a cause for all the smoke, many of the passengers who we spoke with who were getting off the train, who were being evacuated, they say that while they were on the train, conductors told them, or at least announced, that it was an electrical malfunction. Again, that is still being investigated. Officials also still investigating not just how it happened, but how many people were on board the train at the time of the smoke-filled incident. Remember, this had happened during rush hour, so certainly many people, or at least leading up to rush hour, certainly many people out there. Now, there were scores of other passengers who were stuck on the trains in the tunnel. Many we found standing outside the Metro station after being evacuated, covered in soot. Coughing, complaining about chest pains, describing a pretty tense scene.
We have 1 fatality from that woman that was in distress on the train, which I'm very sorry to report, and my heart goes out to her family. We have not yet identified her yet, but we will, and we will notify the next of kin as soon as possible. In addition to that, there were 2 people in critical condition who were taken to the hospital. Approximately, and that was the George Washington University Hospital. Approximately, about 40 people taken on a bus to Howard University Hospital, and another 20-25 people taken to Washington Hospital Center.
Now, many of the passengers who we spoke with They told us after being evacuated, they had to walk about 150 feet from the train through the dark, smoke-filled tunnel, evacuated and escorted by fire officials finally before getting to the platform at L'Enfant Plaza there, and then walking out of the tunnel. Crews are still down in the tunnel investigating the train, investigating exactly what happened. Metro says they do have a ventilation system down there, still trying to clear all the smoke. Obviously a lot of smoke down there, but up on the street level, it's still, at this point, I should say, no signs of any smoke. But also no telling how long the Metro at L'Enfant Plaza will be closed. Again, officials investigating that as well. Live at L'Enfant Plaza, I'm Mola Lengi for WUSA 9.
And Mola, I got to ask you, was there any question raised about Metro's procedures for getting folks off those trains when an emergency situation like this strikes? Did they do it right?
They say they've got protocol. Now, that was asked during a press conference here about 10-15 minutes ago. That protocol was not explained to us, but they say that there are procedures. There is a protocol in place during these sorts of situations. The GM of Metro did say that during his tenure as at the helm of Metro, nothing like this in terms of a smoke-filled tunnel or a smoke-filled train has ever happened. But again, he stressed that they do have a protocol. They did not go into what that protocol is. They say that will be released as the investigation continues.
All right. Mola Lengi live for us at L'Enfant Plaza. Thank you again. 1 woman dead, 24 others, as Mola just mentioned, in critical condition. As many as 60 others hospitalized as a result of smoke inhalation from the Metro incident today.
All right, and we'll have more on the story as we learn more. And of course, a full update for you on WUSA 9 News at 11 o'clock. And you can, of course, check out the WUSA 9 News app for the latest.
This is a yellow alert day. Now, here's WUSA 9's first alert weather.
A pretty nice weekend. Temperatures mid to upper.
Recapping our top story tonight, 1 woman is dead and several more injured and been transported to the hospital, 2 at least, in critical condition after smoke filled the tunnels of Metro's Green Line near L'Enfant Plaza Metro Station. We're going to have more on that story later on WUSA 9 News at 11 o'clock.
And that's all for our news at 7. See you then.